Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video on Gran Turismo 7. We're back with a Daily Race C, with the new and improved Daily C. It started off on Monday with a bit of a downer, to be honest. The race was okay, but it was a bit of a tyre saver. You were running the last few laps on completely red tyres, and it wasn't really the most realistic, because with the broken tyre model on this game, when you have completely red tyres, you can still drive them. They might not be very fast, but you can still drive them, and it means there's no point pitting, because at a track like this, you're going to lose about 25 seconds or something in that region. It could even be slightly more in terms of pitting. So to pit, you had no chance of catching up to anyone who didn't change tyres. It was physically impossible. There was no way of doing it in these top lobbies, because you dropped off your pace about, I reckon you lost about 5 or 7 seconds at most by not changing tyres. There's no way you're going to gain that back with pitting and changing tyres and gaining 7 seconds versus 25 seconds lost. It doesn't make sense. So it was never going to work as a strategy, and that's why it got changed. And I think it was one of the best decisions PD have made, and it's really good to see that PD are listening and being active within a daily once it's gone live. I really think that's good news. We've seen it previously with dailies where they've changed things. We've seen it with the fix also with regards to the broken setups. That's why setups should have been on for this race. However, they obviously had to turn them off because there's a bug with them at the moment where people can access a full setup range. So if you're wondering why setups are not available when it says they should be, it's because at the moment there is a bug in the game where you can basically glitch into the whole setup of a car, and it wasn't really fair for people who didn't know about the glitch. So they've eliminated that and just give rentals only. So not only are they being active in terms of changing these race conditions, they're actively fixing things and actually notifying people of these changes on social media, which is really good. It's a positive change for Gran Turismo. Community is one of their weaker points in terms of letting people know what's going on with the game. So it's quite interesting to see this change of direction, and I think it's really good to see as well. Now there obviously is other areas that need of concern with regards to the GT World Series. A lot of them players that are trying to qualify for them are a little bit concerned about how that's being run, but that's something totally separate. In terms of dailies, this was a positive change. Adding in a compulsory pit stop was essential to make this race a better and more enjoyable experience, because now, in theory, you can use more cars, Nissan GTR, BMW. There is even some other cars like the Mazda Vision that could be used as well, and there's other cars all the way through the list that you could probably compete with if you're willing to give it a go. Now obviously the BMW is still probably the strongest car over a lap, and it's going to be what's going to be used mainly. As you can see here, the top three all in the BMW. I'm in P2, following behind Lewis, who is very, very quick at this combination. At this point of the race, we're just trying to hold on to him and hang in there. And you can see by lap 4, we're still managing to hang in there. We're just trying to stay in that slipstream and hang as much as we can. You can see we've got a nice gap to the cars behind. We've got a bit of a buffer there, just breaking the slipstream pretty much there. So just under 2 seconds and outside the slipstream range. So this is going quite well at the moment. Quite a busy lobby, obviously with the change to the race. I think it was a 4A plus grid basically, where everyone's obviously wanting to try it out. And I think more people, in general, have preferred this way. Now I totally understand there's some people that might have preferred the older way where you just drove to the end with dead tyres, but for me personally it felt a bit weird. You're driving on red tyres at that stage. Your car should be undrivable. Your tyres should be basically punctured. Now I do remember when we used to have that tyre model, I personally wouldn't mind seeing that come back to the game, so that you could have races like that technically, and you'd have to just take it easy through some of these corners to try and get your tyres to the very last lap. So yeah, that would have been interesting if people's tyres would have started to go. But again, it's a decision that PD made to get rid of that and go back to this tyre model where you can just drive them on completely red, no tyre left at all. So yeah, maybe that's something they can look at in the future, fixing that tyre model so that there's less control over your car when then tyres do fade. But for this week now, we have a race that's a lot more enjoyable. I can definitely see myself doing more of these races because of that pit stop. It's going to make it more fun to do. And you can see here on lap 6 as we fast forward up to this dreaded left-hand corner. This is the corner where you're very likely to pick up a penalty. I've run fractionally too wide. Now you can get away with running that wide, which I'll show you later on, where I actually run further wide and thought I was going to get a penalty but didn't. Some of it is to do with the angle you go in, what point you go over the curb, but I've picked up a ½ second penalty there, which is a little bit annoying. So I'm going to go in the pits this lap. You can see that obviously Lewis has managed to pull away in the lead there over 2 seconds and got himself a nice lead with that penalty. So we're quite a way behind. So we're going to get in the pits, get a fresh set of tyres on, get out the pits, and hopefully come into clean air. But on the exit there, we can see Rory in front of us hasn't pitted yet, so we're a pit stop ahead of Rory, and we're going to probably lose a little bit of time through these corners where we're coming out on cold tyres, and we've obviously got a bit of slipstream, so it's going to affect our aero. But on the straight, we're going to gain a bit, and you can see we actually did gain quite a big chunk on that straight, and he's obviously going to dart off into the pits there to change his tyres because he's in theory about 25 seconds behind us there in this race. So now we're back into technically P2. We've got Lewis, who's just gone in the pits, I think, so we're going to see him coming out the pits in front of us. He should be about 2.5 to 3 seconds ahead. However, as we see here, he's a lot closer, so there's been some sort of incident on the entry into the pits or on his in-lap. You can see we've definitely gained a big chunk of time on Lewis, so I'm not sure what the reason for that is until we get a little bit further on. So as we come through here, again, just trying to avoid picking up the track limits, not running too far wide, actually lifting off the throttle a little bit just to make sure we don't go too far wide there, and then into these two right hand corners, and you can just about see as we come through to the second part, you can see a red penalty signal above his car. He's obviously had some sort of issue going into the pits and has picked up a 3-second penalty, so that's great news for myself because Lewis is probably a little bit quicker here, so it's very hard to get anywhere near him. So a nice 3-second penalty for him there, and that puts us into the lead technically. However, we've got a driver a little bit further up there who clearly doesn't know, in my opinion, at this stage, he's not aware that they've changed the settings for this race. And this is one other area where I think PD could make a little bit of a change. Let me know in the comments if you agree with this. I think when they're going to make a change to a daily race, personally what I think they should do is on your first entry into that daily race, when you click on it, there should be some sort of message that appears to just say daily race settings have been altered, please check description. Just something like that for the first time you join a race after they've altered it, because most people aren't going to be following social medias. They're not going to know about, you know, the race changing. Not everyone follows people on YouTube like myself who go into these races knowing that it's been changed. So kind of feel sorry for him because he's obviously not aware of it at this stage and he's staying out. So something like that, I think, just to let people aware. It's not hard to do. You don't even have to say what's changed. Just let people know they need to read the description for the race. And then if people don't read that description, it's on them if they don't get the settings right. But I think that would help a lot of people out. And it's just one of them little quality of life things that would make a little bit of a difference to the game. But you can see here, we are catching him up fairly quickly. So it's pretty obvious he hasn't pitted early or anything. He's on old tyres. We've got a car behind who's doing very good pace, and he's been quick here all since Monday. He was very quick on Monday as well. You can see as we come through here, you can see the difference between the tyres on traction now as we get into obviously the latter stages of the sim on lap 10, and you can see that traction out of the corner, massive more traction. Now I'm going to pick up the slipstream here and I'm going to try and go for the move because I need to get past. I do not want to get held up with him into any sort of traction areas out of this chicane up ahead. So we're going to pick that slipstream up and we're going to go for an absolute send down the inside. So we're going to brake much later with the fresher tyres versus his older tyres, and in the end it was quite an easy overtake because his front tyres have gone, so he cannot brake anywhere near as late into that braking zone. So back up to P1. He's clearly not aware because we're now going into lap 11 and he's obviously not aware that you need to go in the pits and change your tyres. So now we've got to try and hold on, and hopefully he's going to hold up them cars a little bit behind. But this is much more fun. I'm enjoying this race much more now. You're actually being able to push the car at the end of the race. Also, there still is a strategy element. You can pit from anywhere from lap 5 to like lap 8, or you know, there's a difference on what lap you pit based on how you, whether you want to try and go for an undercut, gain a bit of time on the fresh tyres, pit a bit later and have better tyres at the end. There's a bit of strategy element in that as well. So I do prefer this way as I pick up another penalty there, which is not ideal at this stage of race. Luckily for me though, as I've picked that up, the cars behind have been a little bit held up by the car that hasn't pitted yet. So luckily we should be able to hold on. I should be able to hold on to this position when I take this penalty. So going up to the penalty zone, it's only half a second. We're going to actually lose about a second there. So you can see the car behind is going to get under a second to us as we go into the braking zone. But he is then going to get a little bit of dirty air, so that's going to help us out. And we just saw then in the comments, I think someone just let him know that you need to make a pit stop in this race. That driver just got told that they've changed the settings and you need to pit. So I think he actually decided to jump into the pits this lap or the next lap and, you know, finally realised. So yeah, he did get the message eventually, but you can see how close this race is now. And for me, this is much more enjoyable. We've got 3 cars that are all able to fight. We haven't got this red tyre issue. Everyone's in a position to battle, and this is much more fun. Look at this. Look how close this is for the lead of the race. We've got 3 or 4 cars all fighting very, very close, and definitely more enjoyable as a daily race personally. So as we're coming through here, just watch how far wide we run this time. Way further wide than when we got the penalty, and I actually thought here, I've just got another penalty and threw this race away. However, the Gran Turismo gods let us get away with that one, and yeah, it's a strange one. There's clearly something on that corner. It's probably the angle that you take over it and the point at which you go over the curb where you go wide. You can clearly go wide, but it's just how late you go over, whether you get the penalty or not. So a little bit of a consistency issue with the penalties, but I'll definitely take that one. And we hold on to P1. We can see the car behind getting very, very close into the braking zone. We're going to go to the middle of the track. He's a little bit too far behind though, so we can take the normal racing line into the chicane. And now we've just got to try and hold on to this lead for one more lap in this daily race. One more thing that could have made this race a little bit better would have been maybe one more lap in this race, or 2 more laps. 13 laps is still only a 17-minute race. Maybe they could have upped this a little bit further to 15 minutes and it would have been a bit more interesting, but still, it's a good fun combo. Or maybe 2 different tyres, medium and soft tyres with 15 laps, could have been a little bit more entertaining perhaps. But yeah, just look how close this is now between myself and P3. Very, very close going into the first sector. You can see obviously people getting the dirty air through that corner, and we managed to get a really nice exit from that corner. You can see nicely done through there. Actually built a bit of a gap up going into these 2 right hand corners, so it's nice to have a little bit of a cushion there going into the long straight. So now I've just got to try and hook this corner up, get on the power nice and early, and you can see just how close they are behind us, and actually got pretty nice exit onto the straight now. And we're going to go to the right hand side of the track, then back over to the left to try and break that slip. But at this point, I think it was pretty clear looking at the gap. We've got enough of a gap now to just take the normal racing line into the braking zone. So I'm going to stay over to the right. You can see Lewis is going to go for a move down the inside, but I don't think he's managed to brake late enough there, and we're going to take that position and keep hold of P1. You can see they're battling behind us, which is good for me because they're going to lose time, and in the end we're going to go over the line with the P1. So yeah, a much more enjoyable daily race in my personal opinion. Not everyone's going to agree with me, that's perfectly fine. Some people might have preferred it with the no compulsory pit stop, but definitely for me, the race has become more of a race now. You're all fighting at the end, and it's more enjoyable. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the change. Not everyone's going to agree with me. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, in my personal opinion, I like what they've done. And the fact that they're listening, that is a great thing. So yeah, we'll see you for more content soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.